When the Formula One season ended less than a month ago on November 20th, we were all led to believe that the F1 team principal silly season would end up being pretty boring. The polar opposite of the F1 driver silly season, which was arguably the craziest of all time and saw 4 legendary last names leave the grid, 3 promising drivers join the grid, a grandpa join the grid, and 2 race-winning drivers change teams. The only real team principal silly season excitement looked like it might come from Mattia Binotto's hot seat at Ferrari, with Alfa Romeo team principal Frederic Vasseur being linked as his replacement, but Ferrari quickly squashed those rumors 5 days before the season-ending Abu Dhabi Grand Prix with a tweet that read, Comunicato della Scuderia... Okay, I'm just going to read the English version. Scuderia Ferrari statement. In relation to speculation in certain media regarding Scuderia Ferrari team principal Mattia Binotto's position, Ferrari states that these rumors are totally without foundation. So those rumors were put to rest. The F1 season finished out with Binotto and Ferrari at the very least accomplishing their secondary goals of P2 in both the World Drivers and Constructors Championships, and it seemed like we'd be cruising through the rest of the year with a little F1 management drama. Then, the world turned upside down. The first domino to fall was the most obvious one. Mattia Binotto officially resigned as Ferrari's team principal on November 29th. It seems clear to me that Binotto stole the Ferrari social media admin's phone and made that statement himself exactly 2 weeks earlier, because it turns out that those rumors were totally with foundation. Mattia Binotto is a brilliant technical mind, but the Ferrari team principal job is currently the highest pressure management job on the grid and probably in all of motorsport, and I think we all saw this season that something just was not working, so I'm not surprised to see this change happen. However, as of November 29th, only half of the original rumor had played out, as Frederic Vasseur was still Alfa Romeo's team principal, and Binotto's replacement had not yet been announced. So there was me, thinking, okay, they'll announce Vasseur to Ferrari before Christmas so he can spend Natale in Maranello. Alfa Romeo will probably replace him with some guy I've never heard of, like Aston Martin did when they hired Seymour Butts or whatever his name is. And the F1 team principal grid will be complete for 2023. How wrong I was. The next domino to fall was the most random one that I'll be discussing today. Williams team principal Jost Capito departed the team along with technical director FX Demaison on Monday, December 12th. The latter, by the way, sounding less like a name and more like a French TV channel. Williams made a point to have the verbiage surrounding Capito's departure be vague, using words like departs and steps aside, despite the fact it's pretty clear he was fired, just like it's pretty clear Binotto's resignation was not voluntary. While Capito did appear to be turning Williams around prior to this past season, I think this season proved to Williams' venture capital overlords, Doralton Ventures, that Capito and his boy ain't it. I do wonder, though, if FX Demaison brought up during his exit interview that he did, in fact, build the fastest car on the grid, just only in a straight line. The Capito departure is the only domino that appears to be unrelated to Binotto's departure from Ferrari, as I'll explain here in a minute, though, who knows? Maybe it is related to Binotto's departure from Ferrari, because Williams are now going to hire Binotto? Maybe? Probably not, but maybe? Anyways, Williams clearly opened the floodgates with their move, because within the span of 24 hours, we then had 3 more massive F1 team management changes. But before I get to that, this Formula Bone F1 news update is brought to you by Tommy John. Holiday shopping has been hanging over your head long enough, so get yours done today at Tommy John's Wrap It Up sale happening right now. Spread softness, season cheer with the gift of new Tommy John underwear, loungewear, and pajamas, which you can get for 30% off at my URL, TommyJohn.com/fbone. With over 18 million pairs sold, giving Tommy John has become a holiday tradition. 97% of women and men love getting a gift from Tommy John. Personally, I love wearing my Tommy John lounge jogger because it's quite literally the softest, most comfortable piece of clothing I have ever owned in my entire life. You should get Tommy John for everyone on your holiday list and for yourself too. Best of all, every gift's backed by Tommy John's best pair you'll ever wear or its free guarantee. Shop Tommy John's Wrap It Up sale and get 30% off everything at TommyJohn.com/fbone. Order now so your gifts arrive before the holidays. 30% off at TommyJohn.com/fbone. TommyJohn.com/fbone. See site for details. Tuesday, December 13th, 2022 will go down in history as one of the silliest days in F1 team principal silly season history. First, it turns out that the original mid-November Ferrari rumor of Binotto out, Vasseur in was, contrary to Ferrari's statement, 100% completely with foundation and also 100% true. Alfa Romeo team principal Frederic Vasseur was announced to be leaving Alfa Romeo just minutes before being announced as Mattia Binotto's replacement at Ferrari. A solid move for Ferrari, in my opinion, given Vasseur's close relationship with Charles Leclerc, Vasseur's wealth of experience, his knowledge of Ferrari power units, and most importantly, his willingness to accept the most criticized job in all of motorsport. Now, for the next domino to really make sense, I need to explain that Alfa Romeo is a weirdly set up team. The Alfa Romeo F1 team is not a works team owned by the car company Alfa Romeo. A works team, by the way, is an F1 team that builds all its own parts, including the power unit, in its own factory. Instead, the car company Alfa Romeo is merely the title sponsor and a technical and commercial partner of an F1 team owned and operated by Sauber Motorsport, a Swiss company whose F1 cars use a power unit supplied to them via a partnership with Ferrari. Frederic Vasseur was simultaneously the team principal of the Alfa Romeo F1 team and the CEO of Sauber Motorsport. So when he left Sauber, they now had two positions to fill. The most important one being CEO of Sauber Motorsport, the position that oversees the Alfa Romeo team principal job, unless, of course, you do both like Vasseur did. And that, my friends, is where the next domino comes in. You see, Sauber Motorsport already has an arrangement with Audi to be their works F1 team starting in 2026, at which time they will switch the F1 team name from Alfa Romeo to Audi and the power unit supplier from Ferrari also to Audi. As a proud German brand, Audi were always looking for the person all the way at the top of their F1 team to be German. And Sauber were acutely aware of this. And who, may I ask, is the best German F1 team manager currently in Formula One who's also proven themselves to be a CEO type? No, it's not Toto Wolff because he's actually Austrian and not German. And no, it's also not Günther Steiner because he is Italian and not German. It is McLaren team principal Andreas Seidl, who was announced as Sauber Motorsport's new CEO immediately after it was announced that Vasseur was leaving for Ferrari. Reportedly, Seidl already had an arrangement to leave and work for Audi in a couple years, and when Vasseur was being considered for the Ferrari job, McLaren and Sauber worked together to push the Seidl to Sauber move through earlier than planned. I think this is an incredible get for Sauber and Audi, as Seidl has definitely been one of the best F1 team managers of the past couple seasons, despite kind of living in the shadow of McLaren's CEO, Zak Brown, who many people actually believe is McLaren's team principal because of how prominently he is featured in Drive to Survive. Now, I like to think that Seidl realized from Zak Brown that CEO is a more fun job than team principal, and that's part of the reason why he took this CEO job. Seidl has already announced that he has begun his search for the new Alfa Romeo team principal, which, along with Williams' team principal position, is the only other team principal vacancy right now, because just like how Alfa Romeo immediately announced Vasseur's replacement, McLaren immediately announced Seidl's. After Vasseur was announced at Ferrari and Seidl was announced at Alfa Romeo Sauber, McLaren announced that their new team principal would be Andrea Stella, who was previously McLaren's racing director. Honestly, I don't know much about Andrea Stella, aside from the fact that he had a very successful performance and race engineer career at Ferrari with drivers like Michael Schumacher and Kimi Räikkönen, that Stella is quite popular among McLaren staff, and also that I think it's funny, McLaren went from a team principal named Andreas to one named Andrea. I'm excited to see what Andrea Stella can do with McLaren's two incredibly promising young drivers in a very crucial year for the team. As Alpine pointed out, all this team principal shakeup means that their team principal, Otmar Safnauer, is now, somehow, the fifth longest tenured team principal in Formula One after just 9 months in charge, which is just wild. So that's all the insane F1 team principal drama as of the time of this recording, and that's all for this Formula Bone F1 news update. I'm trying to pump out as much Formula One news content as I can, as the vast majority of you who filled out my content survey told me that you wanted more news content, and J-Bone is a man of the people. So toss me a subscription if you want to stay up to date on the latest big Formula One news stories. Also, if you enjoyed the show, you should hit up the links in the description and join the Formula Bone Discord to become an active member of the Formula Bone community, as well as buy a piece of Formula Bone merch if you'd like. Be sure to follow me on all social media at Formula Bone, where I'm always posting F1 content. You can also follow me at my real name, Jared Borislow. Until next time, folks, J-Bone!